Radhakrishnan sir told, actually we have very only 10-20 minutes. Once we open the mouth, it is over like that. But anyway, I will try to do justice to what duty I got. So first I declare that I don't have any financial, personal or any other means of conflict of interest with this presentation. It is very mandatory because I work in that kind of right now. So I thought, like in homeopathy, homeopaths are now into nano because a lot of like technological innovation happened in the domain. So this technological incubation is happening in all the domains of social strata. Homeopathy can't escape from that. So now homeopathy, most of the time when I discuss with my colleagues and people working in homeopathy, they equate homeopathy as nanomedicine in different way. But I just want to give a brief model of how we cannot equate homeopathy with the nanomedicine and how it is philosophically different, all these things. So this outline of my talk, I will start with what is nanomedicine and what is personalized precision medicine, which is now an evolving area, and what framework we use called a phenomenological framework, and few models and its future perspective. See, basically, nanomedicine, this modern biomedicine, they try to optimize its delivery, performance, and reduce its ADR, side effects, all these things. So they literally try to refine it in a very particular way, how it interacts with the biochemical systems and how it target specific motifs and moieties in relevant to some morbidity. But so always this nanomedicine is optimized based on lot of parameters of biomedicine, which are not the parameters used by homeopaths to administer drugs. Homeopaths are using purely phenomenology. Homeopaths don't have any other tool literally. The phenomenology means symptomatology. Classically, we seek for, screen for, and scan for symptoms, and based on symptom similarity, we have to administer the drugs. This is actually the licensing clause of homeopathy, I think. Any licensed homeopathic practitioner, this is the only thing we are entitled. All other technological stuff we use for like a cross validation, and sometimes we can really assess the level of one morbidity or how its pathogenesis and other etiological factors, all this based on different biomolecular markers used by modern medicine. So what really this modern medicine use? They use technology, very sophisticated technology, in their philosophical context we call ontological framework. That is actually very recently happened in homeopathy. Now homeopaths are depending on all sophisticated, even gene profiling, all these things. But the data from those data sets has to be used in a very legitimate way, not just by looking the markers and values. We can't go for homeopathic prescription, but that's what happening nowadays. So homeopathy is not a nanomedicine because nanomedicine is philosophically very clear cut defined, okay, with lot of axioms, epistemic things and all these things. But homeopathy drugs are nanodilutions. It can contain nanoparticle, macroparticle, lot of things. Homeopathy is not only limited to this nano domain. So there is a clear distinction. You can see I just give some pictures, some fancy things, how modern people use different types of nanomaterial like cadmium selenide, europium, fluorescent biomarker, all these things for various theranostics things. But then how, see, so homeopaths are now very aware that there is a technology, nanotechnology, in which they can use those tools to understand how the material characteristics of the homeopathic drugs can be standardized. As Radhakrishnan sir told, like how we can use phytochemistry to understand the nanodilution aspects of homeopathic drugs, starting from mother tincture, what happens with the dilution. See, homeopathy having a problem that it's a philosophy. Philosophy is having three components. One is called epistemology. We call jnana rupa pramahanam in Sanskrit or something like that. That thing you learn first in textbooks, and that episteme is based on axioms. Axioms of homeopathy, this organon of medicine. That is the book we call. like axioms of homeopathy, and an ontological framework where you test those things and you validate it. That is nothing but the phenomenological framework. For a homeopath, all disease is a phenomena, and this phenomena you capture with symptoms, and these symptoms are generated based on fundamental, deep-rooted errors happening in human systems biology. That can happen with the different things: intrinsic factors, extrinsic factors, and these extrinsic factors we call generally psychosomatic thing and other pathogenic external carried thing. Intrinsic factors may be like covering epigenetic factors and other psychosomatically induced things happens inside the body. So suppose arsenicum album is used in diarrhea, it used in COVID. See, homeopaths always face a question. We use one drug for a lot of covering diseases. Disease means as per ICD classification. So we name it because people can easily understand COVID, this, that, like that. But really, if you look at the example of SARS-CoV-2, none of the homeopaths treated actually SARS-CoV defined in the ICD thing. They actually look for the symptoms which are similar to the SARS-CoV-2. So once you get infected with a COVID virus, a human body produces various set of symptoms, and those symptoms if match perfectly with the drug given in Materia Medica, we administer that. That's the only thing. Okay, that's why homeopaths jumped into the war of COVID by saying that we have drugs. We have means homeopaths have drug for even upcoming infections. So we have to very carefully look into this perspective how we approach. So homeopathic approach is nothing only purely based on symptomatology. Once homeopaths are confident about that, we can jump into this. So just look at the symptom picture. So we are in a situation in government of Kerala to uh, what we can do in COVID. So a lot of clinical experts, homeopathy practitioners come up with a lot of drugs. Finally, there is a committee. They told that these symptoms are there, so it matched perfectly with the arsenic album symptom. So really, when we look from a scientific point of view, if you induce, like if you give very low doses of arsenic, through which action pathways it can act? Actually, it is there. So see, this is the network pharmacology diagram in which you can see that all kinase, ion channels, all transporters, all these network can be tweeted or modulated with the intervention of arsenic trioxide. It is as equal. You take an arsenic, you get a toxicity. If you its a dose is high, take a little bit arsenic. This will be triggered, and this is a published data in Frontier. So what we did is we just matched the immunological pathways, okay, of the compromised immunological pathways hit by COVID infection, and we try to map it like this. So literally we having a virus which is having all these information antenna, we call like a receptor binding domain, or these are like a quantum information exchange things. So how these are influenced with the effect of arsenicum, we generated a data. It's already like we did just a meta-analysis, and we generated the structure of this arsenic trioxide from its crystallographic information file. And when we try to simulate it, it's perfectly matching. It is as equal like a symptom similarity of arsenicum album with the COVID-19. So first what we did is in Pathanamthitta district we administered this like a prophylactic thing. So we collected some blood samples, and the first time I think in the world this kind of biomechanistic, this kind of approach is introduced in homeopathy by our team. And from Pathanamthitta, Dr. Biju lead the team, and from homeopathy, Professor Vijayan's team. I was in his team, support him technically. So there we just collected the samples, blood samples. It's just an exploratory observational kind of thing. Like so we collected, and finally we got that arsenicum album 30 is doing some modulation in CD4, CD, all these prime interleukin cluster differentiation sites. So we got a response that after administering arsenicum 30, we are able to modulate it. So this is just an observation, but finally homeopaths is so excited, so they come like a Pathanamthitta study. And what happened with that. But after that, what to do the next? That is the big question. So we thought where this arsenicum album in homeopathic pharmacopoeia starts. So already Professor Bellari proposed something, and some other group is telling like a nano dilution theory, lot of theories. So we go with a very raw scientific approach by where is the source material? As Radhakrishnan sir asked, the quality of source material. So initially we tried with some arsenic trioxide. We got some students who MD material medical thing. So they prepared arsenic album by hand, like a classical way. And as per the pharmacopoeia, when I look pharmacopoeia, it's quite strange that we use polyol synthesis in nanotechnology to make nanomaterials. It looks almost like the same process in which you take arsenic trioxide, put it in glycerol, heat it, filter it, and from that you again take it. So I was wondering how we can capture those process. See, we have homeopathic drugs with label. That label only represents the process through which the source material went through. Arsenic amalgam 1M, 30M, 200 means what? It has undergone succussion, some process. It's actually process mapping. It doesn't convey anything about material safety, data sheet. Means no other things are there to standardize it. So we start with the structure of arsenic trioxide. So we thought in pharmacy we use Raman spectroscopy. So I have very good hands-on experience with Raman spectroscopy. I think in CSR also they have big setup. Professor Maiti is running Raman, and they have produced a lot of wonderful things. So I directly contacted my team in my home institute in Pondicherry, and we tried to run the fingerprint of arsenic trioxide in Raman. And we selected 12C, 30C, 200C because homeopaths even they are skeptical about whether 200C what is it. So dilution theory, all these things are there. So they are confused actually. So I never followed the axiom of homeopathic philosophy. We followed our scientific axiom. We took the thing. Okay, this is the material. So we did this process. Let's screen with Raman. So Raman can deliver very subtle kind of variations in the drugs. So we beautifully identified the presence of arsenic trioxide source material in Raman. So when we excited at some specific valence, I think we got this thing. So it's showing the Raman spectra of arsenic 1230 and 200. And then we run for various regions. So we beautifully able to distinguish this 1230, 200. Technically speaking, if you give me this 1230 200 mislabeled arsenic amalgam, we can label it simply with a simple Raman pharmaceutical. But then it's not a big thing. Any MSc student or doing PhD students in science can do that. So I was wondering why homeopaths are not using. So actually a lack of technology incubation is there. So we run one program with Dr. Surendran sir, and with the help of KVR, we signed one MOU with CSCR and we conducted one specific coursework for advanced material characterization and standardization. And it was sponsored by the government of Kerala. We announced it in homeopathic medical colleges, but nobody joined for that course. Finally, I pushed some faculties to attend that, and they successfully completed. I just added a side story to that. So what we have basically did is we not standardized, at least having a fingerprint in which we can identify arsenic amalgam. Then what about its biocharacterization? So I am, as a beneficiary of homeopathy, so confident that arsenic amalgam won't generate any specific immunogenicity in any human being. It will produce a non-specific immunogenicity response which act like a kavach to fight against similar, see any pathogen, any scenario, if our body is involved in that kind of systems biological framework which generate the symptoms of arsenic amalgam, which is given in the Materia Medica, then if you give arsenic amalgam, our assumption was it will trigger those pathways, so body will be ready for next enemy in the line. So there is a kind of memory updation happens. But there is no, when I look, there is no biological biocharacterization data available with our homeopathic drugs. Very naive, very fragile documents are there. So we thought to do it, verify it by ourselves. So we designed some model in which it's a pure biocharacterization approach. So we use we basically assessed the toxicity, and we run this cycloxinase activity. We run RT-PCR to validate how it behaves. So we selected some macrophages because see, when this lipoprotein polysaccharides, once we got some immunological stress, body will initially trigger do this LPS activation. So we thought a model to do LPS induced inflammatory thing to study how just to model this arsenic amalgam thing. So we selected some specific thing like a COX2 inox and some part we can call it like a markers or quantum biological checkpoints. So this is a common thing run by any MSc student will do this. So we got a very beautiful data. Arsenic amalgam 12C is not killing this. It is not toxic. It is safe. Okay, so and when we run for COX activity, see you can see here is a LPS. Once you treat this this raw to 64.7 with LPS and various dilutions of arsenic amalgam, you can see even at 100 μg, it is able to really do its job, like inhibit it. And we just did the basic analysis. You put this cell lines in the microscope and look for what happened. So the control thing which treated with LPS got some kind of damage and some morphology change. But when immediately once you treat with arsenic amalgam, it is able to recover it back within 12 hours at even 10 μg per ml dilution. So this shrinkage and necrosis, this apoptotic things, when you treat with arsenic 12C, it will revert to normal cell morphology. So even it, these are like a very prime level evidences, but it's very interesting. And we run for this antioxidant enzyme sodium assay, and here you can see that how beautifully it is doing this enzymatic. When we run it, we got that our arsenic amalgam means homeopathy drug as our means I was in department of homeopathy for 5 years, so I am used to talk like our. So now I am not with homeopathy. So LPS plus arsenic amalgam, it is giving actually a very good antioxidant. And when we run this DFC dye like ROS analysis, so control you can see that dye is not shining. But when you induce with LPS, it generates ROS, reactive oxygen species. It give that shining thing to the dye. Again, you treat with arsenic amalgam, we are able to scavenge this. All these are unpublished, and again we run for RT-PCR. We selected the RNA, and then from that amplified specific things which for analysis, and then again run with control LPS induced and arsenic amalgam treated. You can here see that inox and COX2 are completely inhibited and GPDH is in line. Again, we look for interleukins. All these are like, see, once you infect with this thing, the body will trigger like a first line immunity, which fight with all these things, virus or whatever it may be, and try to update it, the B cell memory in that. So this B cell memory is giving next time once you infect, it will call the pre-protein, and when pre-protein, which are similar to that suitable for RBD binding with the virome. So the fingerprint rule in virology is once you infect with the virus, it is for lifetime. It is just a memory update on genome, virome, biome setup. So basically, by running these experiments, we confirmed arsenic amalgam 12C blocks the early inflammatory process by blocking expression of cytokines, ionoids, and COX2. And this arsenic 12C might have implications which can prevent this like a inflammatory thing. And we submitted some proposals to CCRH. I think at the initial phase of COVID in Kerala, it is fully handled by like modern medicine because we don't have any framework at that time. Then slowly we evolved with solution, and it was submitted from CCR to CCRH, and one of my friend, he recently came with an breakthrough in scientific reports. Arsenic malvo 30 is actually having a non-specific thing, and it modulates innate immunity in in macrophage cells. It's a very big paper in homeopathy. So as you see this timeline, this 15 years back, we started with this idea. Finally, some other group with we published those Raman data in some journal and they cited this. So what I'm saying is research is a collective work. They used, so once we start to work as a group, it will support like each other. And they really appreciated our work, which powered path to this work in thing. So you see this timeline, it is in 2014 with my colleague Srinivas. Now he's in Tokyo, Photon Factory. We started work in homeopathy in 2012, and 14 we come up with the femtosecond spectroscopic pump probe and other very sophisticated thing to understand the sophistication of homeopathy. We thought that dilution process may be a quantum information transport, very complex fantasy science, but it is very simple with a pharmaceutical ramen sitting in near to our CV ramen block. We can run the show. So what I feel is like it has the knowledge or like research domain is new to homeopathy. Most of the time homeopaths will be misguided, misled by like who are having different levels of interest and this thing. So my request to the community is to tie up with the authentic institutes like CSIR and government institution. They have only public interest and go hand in hand with like Professor KVR and Surendran sir, Mighty, Professor Mighty. I remember a lot of names, Ajay Ghosh. So those people like this, we can achieve a great deal. I just share a snap in which you can see only one homeopath. I think that is Dr. Bindu Bia, and two Ayurvedic students sitting near to her, and one is from nanotechnology and other are from pure physics. We need such an integrated group to work with. Homeopathic research is highly challenging, very challenging. It is more tougher than nanomedicine, but regulatory wise, homeopathy is like a cakewalk. 35 years as per homeopathic pharmacopoeia, you use all the drugs. So you are licensed to use it. There is no ADR. So you do any work in this line, always try to stick with a phase 4 exploratory trial. Never go for in vitro, in vivo, phase 1, phase 2. It is not required. It is required for our understanding. But if you use the biomedicine strategy in homeopathy department will shut down very soon. Why? Because it will reflect intermediate quantum biological data sets which represent some system biological points which shows that this may induce toxicity, this may, for example, in a thyroid case, if you give a medicine, your TSH will shoot up. After 1 week, it will come down. So when you record it during its shooting up, giving thyroid and more homeopathic drugs is elevating the marker. So it is in biomedicine framework, it is nonsense. If you give arsenicum album, run the gene panel, you will get a data that it will upregulate cancer-inducing genes. So if you do it with the help of ICMR, you sample. If homeopaths don't know what to do, what will happen? Science community is not aware of all this great philosophy being homeopathy. They will tell that we run the experiment, got the data that arsenicum album is upregulating cancer-inducing gene. So you stop, screen all your drugs for that. Otherwise, how it like that it can come up. It's a revert back. So you have to be very careful when you play with technology in homeopathy, like any other system. So finally, I acknowledge Professor Vijayan, Dr. Edi Sandhya from IIC Bangalore, Radish from Department of Biochemistry, Sandhavas College, Pala, Dr. Jayaprasad Karnagaran. He's some HIV-related data set information from Thyrocare laboratory helped us to design this. And Dr. Bindu, Dr. Abhiraj, and Dr. Pradeep from community medicine, practice medicine, something, Iranimutam. Their coordinators who helped to incubate one laboratory there at that time. Professor KVR for his kindness to allow homeopathy to step into CSCR at that stage, not now. And my students, Tariq and Niveda, who helped in developing a lot of points in this, and my research team members. And this work is partially funded by Government of Kerala under Plan Fund from 2017 to 2022. So I really want to use this occasion to salute all of you because you are sitting here with this much tolerance to listen from a very different perspective of homeopathy. So homeopaths must be very open to accept, take the technologies and look for similarities philosophy. Then homeopathy will, I am so confident, it will evolve as a big science. Thank you so much.